Here I go again. To myself. Wants to wrap around your dreams. And have you any dreams you'd like to sell? Loneliness like a heartbeat drives you mad. You mess up remembering what you had, what you lost, what you had. Sorry. Wonder it happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. Women, they will come and they will go. When the rain washes you clean, you'll know. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. Basic women, they will come and they will go. When the rain washes you clean, you'll know. You'll know. You will know. I found a YouTube video that plays a song in a loop for 1 hour. Some of the best things in life are free, I think. I think that can be true. Hello. One solitary viewer, thank you for coming. I think what I'll do from now on is play my favourite songs. I'm afraid I'll have to sing badly to them or I will get a copyright strike, won't I? If I let it play properly, it will be a problem, and that's why I have to sing to it to ruin it. And in any case, I can't sing. I would love to be able to sing properly, but I can't. There is a title to this stream, and this is something I really want to explain to you, why it is so bad that Daniel Sienkiewicz gets to represent you. Or perhaps he doesn't, but he would like to, and really he's the only person qualifying to be the intellectual of nationalism, or a nationalist intellectual, as he would like to call himself. I call myself that too. I do call myself an intellectual because my primary focus is on ideas and the meaning of words and the operation of abstract ideas such as the justice system, the political system, the moral system. These are abstract nouns that people who are social and political pariahs bumping along at the bottom of the social strata would not know. would not know about and don't know how to discuss, not even those of them who went to a good university. So my efforts are being continually obstructed by people who cannot discuss ideas. But I can't really blame people at the bottom when the people at the top are just as bad. There are middle-ranking opinion outlets, I suppose, people like the New Culture Forum. They don't want to talk to me. I wonder why. They don't want to talk to me because they know I will win the argument. It was very helpful of Tiffany to tell me that they're all a bit intimidated by me. Imagine being intellectually intimidating to the, well, forget nationalists, the BBC, the liberal establishment. They don't want to talk to me either. Because, well, they couldn't even deal with Jordan Peterson, and he was going easy on Cathy Newman, wasn't he? And Daniel Sienkiewicz. The shame of it. I know you're going to say I have no business to feel ashamed. He's not of my race. But he is. He represents an idea that I'm supposed to support. I support the principle that the government should govern in a national interest. And Daniel Sienkiewicz and the others are not able to discuss it with me. They can't discuss. No, they literally can't discuss the definition of nationalism, what it means to govern in a national interest. No, they can't do it. Either they can't or they refuse to have that discussion with me or with each other. So what does it mean? It means you're all fucked in the head. Can't discuss ideas. You just can't. You can only focus on the people that you think are responsible for your problems. Leaving yourselves out, of course. And also saying that Islam is evil. Who is to judge on what is evil and what is good? You? Me? Self-hating Jew says, it's weird that I'm kind of obsessed with Daniel. Oh, I get accused of being obsessed because I am persistent, I am insistent. What's wrong with that? You're not going to get your way if you give up easily like you people, huh? Do you people get your way? Do you people stick to your principles if you had any? You don't have any principles. And you can't stick to principles you don't have. Now, my focus on Daniel is simply this, that if he is supposed to be the intellectual of nationalism, then it's a pretty poor performance, isn't it? He can barely explain himself. Well, he can't explain himself, even when you are patient with him, even when you have devoted a stream of over 3.5 hours to try and find out what the hell he's on about. I have evidence for this. And he still can't make himself clear. And when you point out that he hasn't explained things properly, he will kick you off his stream. So, is this a decent display of manhood, of masculinity, or is it a pathetic display of infantilization? An adult male in the middle age, infantilized by his emotions that he can't control, and crippled by the fact that he can't accept that he's a poor communicator, suffering from the sin of pride because he won't correct himself, because he won't accept that there is any problem at all in his communication skills. So blinded by his own emotions that he can't recognize that I am the best in the business, which is why none of the mainstream media will have me talk to them, because I will make my point quickly and win the argument, and that would not do. So I do intend to focus on Daniel and how pathetic he is, and how pathetic it is to be part of a movement whose chief representative is Daniel Sienkiewicz. But you don't care. You don't care about ideas. You don't care about how ideas are represented or communicated or accepted or discussed. You don't care. It's not within your area of competence. But I do it very well, don't I? I communicate my ideas so well that people start talking about my ideas even before I start talking about them. People think of my ideas before I even think about them. I have already sown the seeds of secular Quranism all over the place. The spores are all over the Anglosphere. I am familiar with the course of how these debates take place. They always end with a declaration of hatred and the inability to point to a better idea, an alternative that is better than my idea. And so they will inevitably retreat into saying it doesn't matter. We'll just suffer the disease. The cure that you propose is worse than the disease, so we'd rather die of the disease. Thank you very much, Claire. Not today. Not ever. And the best example of incoherent positions is, secular Quranism, it just ain't British. Was Christianity British? Were the Romans who invaded you British? Were the Anglo-Saxons British? I'm talking to people who have no idea about their own history, aren't I? No idea. So there's no common narrative to that will act on your emotions. You won't know what I'm talking about most of the time. You don't know your own history. You don't understand yourselves because you don't know your own history. It's like one of those children in care homes abandoned by its parents who were never married, found on the street. No idea. No idea who its parents are. And you can't talk about it. It's not that there are no people in nationalism who are, who wouldn't mind being called intellectuals. But there's something wrong with them. Something has gone badly wrong. I would say Simon Shepherd would be an intellectual, but I don't really know what he's doing now. He's in prison. He's out of prison. I don't know. So this is what they do to you easily. They put you in prison. And you can't stop yourself from blaming a certain group of people that you know you're not supposed to blame. And, I've offered, quite a few times to go through this with you. It's like, I don't mind being the unofficial representative of Jews, and you can throw all your accusations against Jews at me, and I'll deal with them. I don't mind doing that. Obviously they're not. Rabbis aren't going to come, on my channel to be insulted and abused by a bunch of anti-Semites, right? Only Duvid would be prepared to do that, but we know he's really a low status Jew because his parents he's of mixed parentage. But I think I can do a pretty good job of it. But people like Adam Green, he won't have me on his show because he knows I'm going to undermine all his arguments, however well researched that Talmudist is. He's not. Well, he doesn't trust himself to have me on his show. He'll have Duvid because Duvid hasn't quite undermined his arguments, but I would, and he's pretending that he doesn't know who I am, and I can help with arranging Joe Atwill to be on the show. You see, these pathetic men are liars, and they have no sense of honor. Who has no sense of honor? A liar has no sense of honor. They think, all the time they can get away with some lie to deal with some temporary problem. And then it becomes a habit. And then it becomes a long-term strategy of lying to others. And the trouble with lying to others is that you believe in your own lies and then you start lying to yourself. And this is what's been happening. The corrupting influence of Christianity has done this to you. Imagine being expected to believe that the creator of the universe is also a crucified man. Come on. You should be angry. Well, some of you are. Adam Green is. That's why he's rejecting the Abrahamic God, because of this cosmic fraud that the Jews couldn't prevent or didn't prevent. So what are you expected to do if you're in this group and a member of your group does a terrible thing? What do you expect it to do? Obviously you can't, you never said that everyone in your group is morally perfect. and some of them do terrible things. What do you do when they do their terrible thing? The answer is simple, isn't it? You dissociate yourself from them. You denounce them. You say, he may have been one of our group, but no longer. He's been expelled. We dissociate ourselves utterly from what he says. He's excommunicated, or whatever. That's what you do. It's not hard. Jews should know that that is what they do. In fact, they made a practice of it. They excommunicated Spinoza, who was a Jew, but he didn't want to be part of his community anymore. He wanted to be a secular Jew. So they excommunicated him and cursed him. Now, obviously, I want to dissociate myself from Daniel and his pathetic incompetence. And worse than that nobody even thought to say, look, Daniel, we can't let you represent us. Somebody else is going to take over from your job, your self-appointed position of being intellectual of nationalism. That would be the logical thing to do if you were thinking properly, which of course you're not. You don't care about these things, ideas. Who cares about them? Can't drink them, can't eat them, can't wear them, can't fuck them. So you think like cattle, obviously. You only care about things, material things that you can consume, and maybe, well, whoever comes, the human that comes to bring your food, the sheepdog that nips at your legs to make you go through this gate rather than the other gate, that sort of thing. And in the meantime, you have evolved a strategy of not talking to me. And I am the only intellectual in nationalism with a coherent idea that no one will discuss because they're not interested in discussing ideas. They're just interested in preserving their group identity of hating Jews and hating Muslims, and that's it. So if nationalists were properly organized, they wouldn't allow Daniel Sienkiewicz to represent them. They'd find somebody better, even if it's saying exactly the same idea. But Daniel's ideas don't work, because what he wants, this thing he calls unionization, which is another word for collectivization, which is another word for people following the rules for the greater good of the group. That's all it means. And that's what morality is about. That's what religion is about. And that's what Jews and Muslims have. And that is what you don't have, because you don't believe that Jesus is God. And you don't believe, therefore, that the priesthood representing the religion of people who say Jesus is God has any moral authority over you. And therefore, you have no moral system. And therefore, the morals of your ruling classes are completely unregulated, which means that they will just do whatever they like to you and you can't do anything. You have no higher authority to appeal to. You have no hierarchical system within your group to organize yourselves, to to deal with your internal and external enemies. You are basically chickens in a cage. And every now and then, a hand opens the top of the cage and yanks one of you out for slaughter, and there's a brief flurry of panic, and then calm descends until the next time the hand above you reaches out and grabs yet another one of you. And this is how you prefer to live until you die. And it is entirely apt that this should continue to happen to you. People who behave like cattle will be treated like cattle. Stephen James says, nobody knows who Daniel is. Well, would you like to tell me a name of a nationalist who calls himself an intellectual? Can you think of someone? With a real name, not some stupid, name like Survive the Jive or, whatever. Somebody who actually uses his real name. That's what I mean. Daniel Sienkiewicz, whatever you think of him, he does give his real name. And he tells us about his experiences, his childhood, his youth. He's a real person. And that counts for something. Who is Daniel representing? Well, he claims to represent the white race, doesn't he? Hi, Diana. So Diana thinks I shouldn't be getting upset about Daniel. I will explain why, again. It is how shameful it is to be associated with a movement whose intellectual is Daniel, or who says, well, we don't have an intellectual, we don't have anyone giving us ideas for our political system. So, I do claim, well, I do feel I am associated with nationalism. I do call myself a moral and political philosopher promoting nationalism. That is what I say about myself. And I know that Daniel says the same thing. He has an idea. I mean, I would call him an intellectual, or somebody who wants to be an intellectual and wishes to be recognized as such because of his ideas. He does use quite technical philosophical terms such as unionization and all that. So, well, he's the only one that I can think of. I mean, unless you can think of somebody else whom you could, identify as an intellectual in nationalism. If nationalists want to be, if nationalists want moral and political respectability, they would have to have an ideology, right? They would have an ideology. Okay, another one that I can think of is Kurt Doolittle of proprietarianism. What's he doing these days? I did interview him. But I think he rather discredited himself at some rally or something. Does anybody know what he's up to these days? Thank you, X, for saying there's no better answer to objective morality than the Quran. I know this to be true because I do talk to a lot of Islamophobes, and I do ask them. I mean, of course, we have this conversation that and at some point I will say that the Quran is the best available guide to humanity, and then they will contradict me, and then I will say, well, what is better than the Quran as a guide to humanity? And they can never answer. They never even attempt to answer. They have insulting answers like, my sister's colouring book is better than the Quran. Harry Potter is better than the Quran. But they won't get serious. They won't even say, "Oh, Mein Kampf is better than the Quran," or the Communist Manifesto is better than the Quran, or some book Mussolini wrote is better than the Quran. They literally can't think of anything else. So I've already won. I've already won the debate. And they can't bring themselves to admit it, and that's what Western civilization is dying of. People who can't submit to the truth and admit that they're wrong. And this is the case in the ruling classes, the fourth estate, and certainly also the state right at the bottom. So the corruption, well, it's a sandwich of corruption, isn't it? So think of the good and productive being in the middle, being slowly eaten, parasitized from above and below, until all that is good and productive about the West is gone, and then the parasites will just, well, they'll have to eat each other in order to stay alive. I've given you people over 10 years now to come up with something better than secular Quranism that you're allowed to say in public, right? I know you want to kick out the Jews, kick out the Muslims, kick out the non-whites, and well, I suppose what else are you going to do after you've kicked out all the people you want to kick out? Who will do the work? Who will do the thinking? Diana, I'm not saying he's running the movement. I'm not saying Daniel is running the movement. I'm saying that he's the only person in nationalism who identifies himself as an intellectual. Is there anyone else? Have I missed something? Stephen James. No, no, no. I'm not the kind of girl who talks about the size of male sex organs. Well, no man has ever complained that I do things like that. You are confusing me with women of your own race. Is Keith Woods a nationalist philosopher? Well, he should talk to me then. I seem to get the impression. Well, I get the impression that Keith Woods just uses words. A philosopher, a philosophy graduate would, and says nothing at enormous length. What does Keith Wood propose? Does he propose anything? Damien Kithy says Islam has been subverted. How has it been subverted? And what does it matter? Okay, the instructions are the instructions. Over the centuries, different groups of people have tried to follow the Quran, and they don't follow it well, and their civilizations fall. So, what's the problem? So, anybody who comes after these fallen Islamic empires will have to resolve to follow it better. That's the solution. And you're saying, oh, let's not try at all. What are you saying? What are you people actually saying? Ron Fon or Ran Fan says, Doolittle is a libertarian, not a nationalist. Well, I thought he was quite popular with white nationalists. Or perhaps libertarianism can be incorporated into nationalism. I mean, I would say I am libertarian to the extent that I will interpret any Quranic principle in a way that is light on regulation. So I would always favor a lighter way of interpreting it than the sternest. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Stop fearing death. Well, atheists fear death. I mean, that's a problem about atheism, and this, it's like forget whether God really exists or not. If you act like cowards, that will encourage your enemies, and it really doesn't do to think like a woman. Women are allowed to prefer safety and prefer comfort, but not you men. And that is the lie of feminism. You're not allowed to think like women because if you do, then you'll be totally fucked. And there'll be no one to protect your women, and men of other races and nations will just come and help you themselves to your women. So anybody going to give me a name? Are you really saying that an Irishman is a nationalist intellectual? Keith Woods, is he? What does he say? Can you tell me what he says? Oh, it's all this crap about, the Muslims appear to be worshipping some stone thing. It's like, who cares? They don't. It's a ritual. It's a pilgrimage ritual that they do certain things that I guess to Islamophobes they think, oh, they're bowing before idols. It's like no. What Muslims know they're supposed to do is follow God's laws, whatever they interpret it to be. I don't know what you're on about, Damien Kithy. Stephen James, you find sometimes you say things and you think, you're still not getting it. Yes, there will be different English translations of the same Arabic verse. You haven't heard of Nietzsche, who said that interpretation is a function of power and not of truth? Whoever is in charge controls the interpretation. Have I talked to the distributors? He won't talk to me. Pathetic Catholic. The Christians won't talk to me because they know I'll be gunning for their Trinity, and they know that the Trinity is morally and intellectually indefensible. They already know that, but they want to hang on to it because they think it's weight. Yeah, and they don't understand their own history, do they? They've forgotten all about, the wars of the Reformation. Who won the wars of the Reformation? Was it the Catholics? Really? And the distributors, he's an American. He should know all about WASP supremacy, but it's gone out of his mind. He doesn't even understand his own history. So why would he want to talk to me when he knows he would lose every single argument? Better for him to be streaming on his own, giving advice to his brain-dead followers who only praise him. Not going to talk to me. The coward. They're all cowards. Those who won't have me on their channel are cowards. So who's the intellectual of the alt-right? Who? Ed Dutton might work as an anthropologist who's got a theological background, but he's not talking to me, is he? Has he talked to that Rob Dufour yet, of Islam for Europeans? Has he? Have you seen it? So I've been going on for 42 minutes. Nobody is, okay, apart from Keith Woods, the distributors. He doesn't use his real name because, well, I guess he's embarrassed to be, associated with the alt-right. No, Stephen James, I can't do what you want me to do because nobody's, okay, if you're going to do it properly, the only way to examine secular Quranism properly is for you to read the Quran. But I know you don't read. You hate the book. You hate the people. You can't bring yourself to read it or be seen to be reading it or buy it. Or, what if somebody in your social circle saw you reading the Quran? That would be so terrible. You can't do it. So it's only an intellectual who can say, I'm reading the Quran because, I'm for research purposes, but if you're all pathetic losers whose friends and family would assume that you're going to be joining ISIS the moment they see you reading the Quran, then forget it. There's nobody talking to people like you anyway. It's a class thing. I know what class of people I'm talking to, right? I know damn well your social backgrounds. Your marginalised people being warehoused for extinction under AI, right? They don't even, your government doesn't even want to deal with you. They want you to go gay. They want you to sterilise yourselves so they don't have to deal with your descendants. That's what they're doing. But you're too dumb to work it out. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you do want to be warehoused for extinction. Even those of you who have legitimate children, who have the possibility of giving you grandchildren that might result in having descendants, you don't give a damn. You'd rather blame Jews and continue to be identified as social and political pariahs. And you won't apologize, you won't change your ways, you want to stick to that pathetic, despicable, detestable identity that is the only one you know now. You're not capable of following arguments, developing them, or even accepting that this must be the first step towards any political solution. So no, Stephen James, I've written, all you have to do if you want to find out more about secular Quranism is just Google me or go to Voice of Reason and use the search word secular Quranism and a whole bunch of articles will come up. So no, Stephen James, if you really cared about it, and I don't want to read it, you can say, well, under secular Quranism, can I visit brothels? And I'll say, yes, you can, because it will be licensed. Or, whatever it is that you're worried about that you're going to lose under secular Quranism, just ask me. Can I do this? What's going to happen to those people, these people? You can ask me. I can't read your mind. I can't read the Quran for you if you're too scared or stupid to pick it up. I don't know what you like about it or hate about it. That's why I keep talking about wanting to talk to intellectuals who will just think, well, right, I've got to read it then. If I don't like secular Quranism, I have to undermine all her arguments by spotting weaknesses in them. That's how they think. That's how intellectuals do it. Well, I'm glad that you Damien Kitty is at least receptive to what converts to Islam say about it. There's so many videos that you can look up if you cared. But I think a lot of you are just scared. You're not going to look at things that might upset you, like triggering, want trigger warnings. Look, Stephen James, you can't, the way you read something is going to be difficult. Okay, you want to read the Quran, get the N.J. Darwood Penguin translation. That's the one I like anyway. That, of course, the whole, so many translations, English translations of it, and some of them are better than others. I'm saying I like the Darwood one, and Darwood actually isn't Muslim; he's an Iraqi Jew, but it's I just like the way he did it, making it memorable, and others quarrel with it because he's not Muslim. So I can tell you my favorite English translation, and maybe you won't feel so weird, because it's a Penguin book, right? It's a Penguin book, so it's not so scary when, rather than, that the Muslim versions of, looking so Muslimy, right? You can get the free ones, lots of Muslims all over the place giving you free Qurans, but then the print is small. The one that I got recently is quite good, but the print is small. But maybe, if you're young and you don't need reading glasses, it might be okay. Lots of apps that you can have it read to you in English, all kinds of things. But maybe, you don't want anybody in your amongst your friends and family thinking, well, what is this? Is that the Quran? Are you joining ISIS? Are you going to blow yourself up? So now we're back to Freemasons. Okay, I have a theory about Freemasons. I had a boyfriend who was a Freemason. Oh yeah, and he was Jewish too. Huh. Well, I think it's really quite. I don't think. Okay, we never really discussed it. What he enjoyed was just the dressing up and the learning of lines, and this is what children do. They have a dressing up box, what they call it, they have all their sort of wizards costumes and policemen and bank robbers and cowboys and whatever, a little box, and every time they want to play a role, they put their, favorite costume on, and then they create an imaginary world. I think a lot of these rituals are a bit like that, but hey, it helps a men bond, right? But this is no longer encouraged. So if being a Mason has any unstated purpose, it would be for Jews and Muslims, when it is safe to do so, to point out the idolatry and blasphemy of Christianity to Christians. And they would be outnumbered, and they would have to be humbled, and they would have to submit to the truth that Christianity is indeed idolatry and blasphemy, when Jews and Muslims in their Masonic lodges finally work up the courage to tell them that. So that is what I think is the real purpose of Masonry. What are you saying, Ron Fon? Yes. Well, traditionally, men are supposed to regard women as a resource, right? You want them because, well, they are your. It's a status symbol, of course, and also it gives you um, the chance of, well, you can only have children, legitimate children, through a wife. And there was a time when having illegitimate children, it was a sexual offence. So if you were a bit ambitious man and you wanted, to make your mark on the world, you would have to take a wife and have children who will be a credit to you, and it used to be the case that the alpha male leader would have to be a man of a certain age with, well, a wife with an unblemished reputation and with grown-up children who are a credit to him. That was the whole purpose of having family. Like, well, you have a lovely wife, you have children who are a credit to you. You can run your family all right. We will trust you to run our country for us. That was how patriarchy worked. And now you have gay prime ministers in Ireland. That was reputedly Catholic. So have a think about, how the rules have changed and what needs to be done to get things back into a semblance of moral order. the male spirit. The male spirit is, well, I would define masculinity as a state of mind prepared to defend patriarchal moral values, i.e., the values of your chosen moral system. And moral systems consist of religions and secular political ideologies. So which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose Daniel's or you're going to choose mine? Why would you choose Daniel's? Because he's white? Are you stupid? So are you saying you would choose Daniel's because he's white and male, and you're not going to choose mine because I'm not white and I'm female? Or are you, do you have some sort of instinct of self-preservation, and you're going to say, well, I'm going to choose the one that I think is going to work, or I'm going to choose the person who is most likely to succeed? That's how I would choose if I were thinking of choosing. And obviously, if you do choose one or the other, you need to support that leader, right? You're not just going to sit back and say, well, off you go then. You do it on your own. You're not going to get any support from us. We're just, here too busy posting our shit on other people's streams. I'm not asking you to do anything much. I have made a point of never asking people not to do what is actually beyond their capacity. I don't ask anybody to agree with me about secular Quranism. It's not a condition of engaging with me. All I ask is for a dialogue about it to take place. And it seems I'm not even going to get that because apparently the men are too scared. Tiffany tells me that they're too scared. Too scared of losing the argument to me. Then if they think they've already lost the argument, then why not accept that? Instead of fucking around with milk toasts who are not scary. So when is the Ed Dutton show with Rob Dufour? Who's not going to mention secular Quranism because he's too scared. When's that going to happen? You're going to tell me how it goes? You're going to post in the chat and ask about secular Quranism, even though the price of doing that might be to be hidden. You're going to do it? Thank you, Damien Kitty. They don't know about these Muslims, these Islamic scholars. They don't have my knowledge of Christianity and Judaism. I'm the all-rounder of the Abrahamic faiths. Who can't figure it out because they've been subverted? You're talking about the Muslims. Yeah, everybody's been subverted. So, well, the only way to get around the problem of the subversion of all the Abrahamic religions is to challenge those who disagree with our interpretation and interpret their failure to engage with fear. Oh my God. Damien Kithy says Stephen's too thick to be able to read the Quran because he'll get frightened and have nightmares. And he needs proper scholars around him to hold his hand. I'm not going to insult him by saying that. I'm sure he could pick it up and read it after buying the Penguin N.J. Darwin translation. And if he's scared of his parents or his, associates seeing him reading it, he can wrap the cover up in brown paper or something, and nobody will ask him, "What are you reading? Are you going to join ISIS? And are you about to blow yourself up?" I think he can do that. He's not stupid. And if he's too busy, doing his exercises, and he can. I'm sure there are apps that recite. Okay, let me see. Reciting the Quran in English. Just read it. It's quicker just to read it. And actually, listening to it, you won't. I mean, it's like if you read it, you can go at your own pace, right? If you don't understand, you go a bit slower. If it's easy, you go a bit quicker. But just read it. For fuck's sake. Yes, another stream dedicated to Daniel. I think Western masculinity needs to be discussed. And actually, it was Diana who gave me that idea because I was thinking of her today too, this morning, and it was her idea yesterday that this friend of hers wanted Muslim men to talk about issues with their masculinity or problems or whatever, and she told this academic friend of hers that it's never going to happen because any man talking about their masculinity would be tantamount to saying that they lack masculinity, and that's a problem, and they certainly don't want any men knowing who they are. And all and obviously all these men who ever wonder about their masculinity are having female problems. Yes, they're having female trouble, and then that causes them to doubt their masculinity. But that they'd rather die than admit that to another man. So unless these men have friends, good friends, they won't be able to address it at all. I mean, yes, I suppose they have access to all kinds of, publications, but they won't have the particular advice that they might need, anyway. And I suggested to Diana that she should give it a particular twist by saying, a woman will be there to tell the men what she expects of them, and that she would be the kind of attraction, shall we say, and then the men will say, "Whoa, who is this woman? How dare she come and tell us how she? I bet she's not that attractive." Blah, 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 blah. But they'll come, and that would be, that would get the dialogue going. So yes, masculinity is a political issue, and then so is femininity. And I'm basically saying that only a member of the opposite sex has a right to say, I like my women this, and and the woman will say, I like my men to be whatever, Otherwise, you will just get women saying, well, I like to be fat and rude and slovenly and never cook but eat lots. It's like, yeah, the things that we would really like to do are probably not that attractive. We want all the privileges, but none of the responsibilities, right? I mean, so there you go. We need a dialogue about gender roles. Amanda, I really don't know what else you expect me to do. You want me to tell these fuckers to read Arabic when they won't even read the Quran in English? What? Like, okay, okay, you're not a supporter of secular Quranism. Never mind. But expecting them to learn classical Arabic? No way. Yeah, oh, well, I guess, you're one of those people telling me to give up because these fuckers will never they'll never accept it. They'd rather die, right? These clueless losers, lobbers who are gonna die childless because nobody's gonna marry them. They'd rather die. Yeah, they'd rather die. But what about the other people who want to be married parents? Thank you, Stephen James, for dealing with that spam bot person. Why do people do that? Just a pathetic desire for attention. Oh no, Daniel's not Jewish. He's too dumb to be Jewish. Pathetic. There's just some people like, no, there's no way you can be Jewish. You're too dumb. Damien, I don't know why you don't. Pristine version of Islam. No. There's no pristine version of Christianity. Don't even think of that. Christianity is idolatry and blasphemy. They can do it if they want, but there's no pristine. Anyway, pristine is it's just scripture, right? Whatever instructions you have for any religion is contained in scripture. So you go and read it. And if you're too scared to pick up the Quran like Stephen James, well, that's too bad. There's no point talking to people like that. Because if you really wanted to challenge me on the Quran, you'd have to read it and you'd have to challenge all my claims. Like, well, I don't think the Quran is the best available guide to humanity. Here, read my book. You could say that. Read my best-selling book about how to make the world a better place. Yeah, you could do that. So basically, I'm talking to people who have no contacts whatsoever. They went to some of them went to a good university, but they can't actually have that conversation with me, and they don't know anyone else who could. Do you know anyone who could have that conversation with me? Nope, you can't. You don't know anyone who would read the Quran, who would get my points, who would use their real name. That's sad, isn't it? That's really sad. And talking about a pure form of any religion is just silly. We can only do our best and follow the rules as best we can. I mean, how do we know Well, who cares? I mean, you can only do your best. And you're not doing your best when you deliberately ignore something that you shouldn't ignore. If you distort the principles of your religion in order to serve a political purpose, when you're being unfair and illogical, using some lie to support your argument. A man Look, a man can dominate his wife anyway without resorting to verses in the Quran. What I'm talking about is the law of the land. The Quran will be the law of the land under my interpretation if secular Quranism were ever adopted. That's what I'm saying. I'm not mincing my words and whatever, you know. So it will be the law of the land. So just try and, accept that that's what I'm trying to say. If a man were, okay, even if he's an abusive husband, he's not going to be using the Quran. He'll just, hit her or be abusive towards her, and he's not going to be using the Quran as a basis of that. And if she objects to it, she can use the law to divorce him and get a decent settlement out of him. People are so strange. Yeah, there's this sort of stupid obsession with your racial composition, 2% Jew or whatever. It's just stupid. It doesn't matter. Okay, a good example of how men have distorted the Quran. There's a verse in the Quran about um, two women being required to witness a loan agreement and only one man is necessary. I mean, that's what it says in that verse. But I would say, well, it's only in the matter of loan agreements. On other matters, women have equal, the weight of you know. Well, I mean, it doesn't even come into operation in a court of law. I mean, a witness is either convincing or not, or unconvincing, and people don't even think about the sex of the person. They would just decide whether they think the person is telling the truth or not. So it shouldn't, it's just one of those Islamophobic tropes that people like using. I don't see how you can, weigh the credibility of a witness by saying, this thing that you say is worth twice or that other person's or half that other person's. Stephen James says, I'm victimizing Daniel. Am I victimizing him? I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling his chances in any way at all. He's not. He's no longer a young man. he claims to be the intellect of the alt-right. He doesn't. He wants to call it something else, and I think it's stupid. I don't mind being associated with the alt-right. I mean, it's the same old characters, so it doesn't matter what new name you want to call yourself, does it? People know it's you lot again with the same old grievances, blaming the same people. I'm happy with alt-right because it means anyone outside mainstream conservatism proposing solutions that mainstream conservatism is not prepared to consider. That's fine. So, we can be ethno-nationalists and civic nationalists. I want to use this term because it's a bigger group and therefore has a greater potential for recruiting, because I would be recruiting from a bigger and deeper pool of potential political talent. So I'm happy with alt-right. And I'm basically saying nationalism should be defined as government in the national interest, and we should be prepared to discuss what this means. What's a problem? Can't you do it? Is it scary? Now, Daniel, I'm afraid he has to be wrestled into submission. He hasn't got a better idea than mine. He can't explain it to anyone. Look, he can explain his idea to somebody, and that person can talk to me about it. How about that? Do you think that's ever going to happen? So, the purpose of this exercise, Stephen James, is to make it clear that I am the only intellectual in nationalism, and anyone who disagrees can challenge me, and nobody's going to challenge me, therefore I win. All right? That's the whole purpose of this exercise. And Daniel will stream later this week, tomorrow probably, for 5 hours, complaining about me and going on about his hermeneutics and homeostasis and Cartesianism. Yeah, go to his channel, subscribe to it. Be there when he goes live. Support him against me, because he's gonna win, isn't he? I don't know why you're talking about magic in the Quran, Damien Kitty. What matters do you want expounded on, Damien Kitty? I have an email. You can write to me. You can ask me questions. Well, I don't know why you keep wanting to go on with Christianity. It's like, it's. Let me think of an analogy. You have a basket of fruit, a bowl of fruit, and one of them is rotten, so you throw it out. You throw it out, or it'll contaminate everything else in your fruit bowl. I don't think you get it yet, Damien. You still want to make it work. You want to make the idolatry and blasphemy of Christianity work, right? You don't get it. Because you don't really care that it's idolatry and blasphemy. That is your problem. You don't care. What's a difficult one? It's a difficult one, Claire, because of mass immigration to the West undercutting wages. And what's a difficult one? Why can't you people write in proper sentences with a fucking verb and subject? What's a difficult one? Fucking hell. Oh, here we go again. Repatriation. You want to talk about that before? It's just such. Look, you want to talk about repatriation when you're right at the bottom of the heap and nobody cares what you think. You know that, don't you? Why doesn't your government care what the fuck you think? Because you don't work. That's why they get all these cheap asylum seekers. They work. You won't. Therefore, you are of no use to these people, to the government. And you think the government wants to kick out the people that they brought in at so much trouble and expense to look after you who won't work? Don't you get it? You want to talk about, the usual NF thing, let's kick them all out. Yes, go back to your wish list politics. And just tell everyone what you really like to do. You string them all up on the nearest lamppost and fantasize about all the people you want to hurt and torture that you think are responsible for your problems. Yeah, talk about that. You must be very young. That's the only excuse I can give for you if you talk about that. It's been tried. It's been done. The NF did it. Have you heard of the NF, young man? Have you heard of it? They've done that. They were even more unsuccessful than the BNP, and the BNP is no more. But you want to try all the failed ways again because life is too long, right? Okay, so Stephen James, I don't know what's his 23andMe account. Okay, thank you for mentioning this DNA test of Daniel's. Perhaps I need a separate stream to explain to you the difference between wish list politics and roadmap politics. So I utterly dissociate myself from wish list politics. So yeah, you maybe you want the pavements to be gold or something. Yeah, so what? I'm telling you that I have a roadmap to what I want, and certain people have to do certain things for me. And all my ways are peaceful and legal, except that people won't understand what I'm trying to say, or they assume failure. Or, they don't want to do what I want them to do, and they just won't do it. Yeah, I mean, nobody's completely indispensable. I mean, it would be better that certain people do certain things, but if they won't, I'll find somebody else. But, if you made any kind of sacrifice for nationalism already, why can't you just, go the extra mile? What's your problem? What are you going to do instead anyway? You're not doing anything else. So you might as well do things my way. And that would give me credit, and that would give you credit. And maybe something good will come out of it. I was thinking of armed prophets. Now, not that many of them in the Bible or in the Abrahamic religions. There was David, but he was the first king of Israel, right? So yeah, he had to do a bit of fighting. Muhammad did a bit of fighting. I have no army. I have no police force. So nobody can accuse me of being of wanting a violent revolution. I'm going through all the proper channels. I want to talk to people in charge, and they won't talk to me. And the fact that they won't talk to me is a sign that they prefer to use violence because they have the power to ignore me. And a lot of people, who are just technically above me because they have bigger channels, they're doing the same thing too. They are making a deliberate policy of ignoring rational arguments because they would rather not be persuaded. And this means that they would only listen to violence, which is not what I'm offering. I'm just making a prediction that those who won't be moved by reason will be moved by something harsher later. That's all I'm saying. Would I be prepared to wrestle millennial votes? I'll appear in this interview. And be nice. I will be nice. Oh, okay. Here's the deal. I'll appear on this channel and I'll pretend. Okay, I will behave as if I were invited for an interview at the BBC. How about that? How about that? I'll be nice. And thank you for listening.